The wind is blowing. Maybe we're going to get rain, but we're starting our day off with 2 Black Rhino. This is Safari Live. Good afternoon to all of you on this very gusty day. See, David, I mentioned the wind again. The wind is going to be hot topic this afternoon, but hopefully, well, the rhinos will distract us from the wind. My name is Tayla, and on camera with me today is David. Lucky, get away with it. I need to think of some new nicknames. Anyways, you're watching a live and interactive safari, and it's great to have you all here. So if this is your first time and you're wondering how you can chat with myself, Brent and Tristan, you can hashtag Safari Live, or you can chat to us also on the YouTube chat. But enough of me. Look how beautiful these rhino are. Now, for the regular viewers who have been watching every single day, really dedicated fans, you'll know that once you have a closer look at these rhinos, that these are the same rhinos we saw the other day, which is quite exciting. And the reason why I know that is because I'm pretty sure this was the bull, and he had very tattered ears from notches and maybe even just from fighting. I think that was the bull there. We'll have to wait until we come out from behind the bushes. But they're very happy and out in the open again, which is really lucky to see because they don't normally spend too much time out in the open. They prefer the thicker vegetation where they can hide away. But today they're putting on a real show. Look at that. You know, in sightings like these, if I was with, I wouldn't just say real guests, that's ridiculous, guests that was sitting on my car with me, I don't even think I'd be able to say anything, because it really is so stunning to see black rhino out in the open like this, also with grass up to their chin, and a beautiful tree line and sky, and escarpments in the back. It truly is a breathtaking view. A very, very special place. Not many places you get to see something like this either. A couple of cars driving around too. Lots of vehicles. That's on one of the, well, that's, yeah, not quite the river road, but that was back there. We think that's where we're going to head to try and find some lions. Look at that. That is just stunning. Now come away from that bush, please, so we can just get one really good picture. I'm talking to the rhino, of course. There we go. Oh, listens. Wow. Isn't that amazing? So there we go. That's the view that I was telling you about. Hard to beat that. Really just taking it in as well to see something like this. And very, very peaceful. Now, unfortunately, black rhino have got the stigma attached to them, where dynamite comes in small packages, and that does ring true. But they're actually quite placid most of the time. And if you just give them a bit of room, they're fine. And when I was down in the Eastern Cape, the black rhino became very much habituated to the cars, just as lions, and wouldn't mind you at all, and would walk right past the vehicle, which was incredible. And I'll never forget, a friend of mine sent me a video from this reserve saying, basically, to his guests, this black rhino had walked around behind his car, and the rhino was so close that he had to say, yes, don't touch the rhino, to his guests, because they'd come that close to the vehicle, and very unusual to see something like that. Oh, and that's nice. The sun has decided to break free of the clouds too. So now you can really see the golden grass. Yes, I think that is the male there. Yeah, he's got the teddy ears. Now, an interesting question from Paula. You're wondering if rhinos are typically solitary or if they enjoy the company of another. Well, white rhinos are more social than the black rhinos, so you'll find that the male white rhinos mark and defend territories, and we see their territories all over, especially in the Sabi sand. They're very prominent. And then the females typically have a home range, whereas with the black rhinos, it's slightly different. Both male and female will mark and defend territories. However, I've seen some amazing things where we have had large groups of black rhino together. There's been many records of, you know, rhinos coming to drink down at the same watering hole. But with a watering hole you could understand, because often something as significant as a place to drink, and rhinos need to drink regularly, they will overlap in the various territories. But during courtship they'll come together, and I've told you a couple of stories about how I've seen sort of different groupings of black rhinos, you know, adult males with groups of females and youngsters, and all very relaxed. Whether they were maybe sub-adults and not quite marking and defending territories, that's definitely a possibility. They weren't really close sightings. They were watched through binoculars, and they were not the calmest, all the black rhino and the Sabi sand, but still very lucky you'd get glimpses of them every now and then. But they're beautiful. And I haven't really seen them coming close to the vehicles. They sort of stay out in the middle where they feel safe. Now, Janice in Canada, you're wondering about the differences between a black and white rhinoceros? Well, it's actually quite simple. Not when they're on their own. It can be quite difficult, especially if you've never seen either species, and maybe this is your first time seeing a black rhino. So, black rhino are smaller in size, but they've got very pointy lips, so it's difficult to see it now though, because they're sort of half their head is tucked below the grass. But if they do come out into shorter grass, you can see it quite easily. So they've got very pointy lips, and the top lip being almost prehensile. They use it like fingers almost to pull leaves off of the trees. And with a white rhino, their head hangs much lower than that of a black rhino, and they've got a big square lip. And that's where the whole confusion came in with a white rhino, was that it was the Weitmondrenoster, the wide-mouthed rhino. But unfortunately, communication barriers, and they sort of just went black and white like chess, two complete opposites, but that's not the case. So this is also known as the hook-lipped rhino. And the track is slightly different too. The white rhino track is much larger, as you can imagine, because they weigh a lot more than the black rhino. The black rhino track is slightly more compressed. And that's why, because we saw a black rhino. I don't know if I told you this. Did I tell you that I saw a black rhino in the northern Sabi sand? I've completely forgotten. But yes, so we saw one. Ellie and I were very lucky on two different occasions. We assume it was the same one, and it's quite a rare sighting to see a black rhino up in the northern sands. And he was beautiful, not having any of it with the vehicle, so quite shy. So you just got quick glimpses of him. I managed to snap one or two pictures, which was quite nice and very kind of him. And I was convinced that it was a sub-adult rhino, white rhino, that had been walking around, because I just had never seen any black rhino footprints up there. And then when we saw it, I went, you know what, I should have got out and had a proper look. And I didn't. But we got to see it anyway, which was pretty cool. Very windy out here though, so maybe that's why they've also moved out into the open. We know how the wind affects the various animals' senses. So even for rhinos, where their eyesight is not their strongest sense, will come out here. Now, Ellie, you're wondering if the rhinos are protected out here in the Mara? Yes, they are. Most rhinos are protected all over the world these days. So there is anti-poaching units that go out on patrol. Last night when we were near the Purungat Bridge, we actually met the warden, Daniel, on that side, which is quite nice. Very important people to get to know, and he was actually heading out. We saw him. He was just coming back from a patrol. I think he said he was going to have go and get changed or have some dinner, and then we bumped into them again. Out they went, and yeah, following the various animals. So not just protecting rhinos specifically, but the elephants, the lions, the cheetah, the leopard, everything out here, even the buffalo, the impala, just making sure all is okay. So you look at that. So that's quite nice interaction to see with black rhino. You don't often get to see them being sort of intimate, if you will, or showing too much affection, other than maybe a mother and calf. So rhino horns are actually very important for a rhino, and they're the only ones that should ever have the need for them. Because of course, you know, that's what rhinos are poached for their horns. And that's one of the reasons what they use their horns for, is they'll greet one another. Just as elephants will lock trunks, or lions will rub heads, leopards will do the same thing, all the cats, you know, do that. That is how rhinos will greet one another. They are very, very affectionate. This is so cool. This is really, really nice. Just standing out, not really worried about a thing. I'd be intrigued, though, to see how close they would wander to the cars. Obviously, everyone's very respectful here of the rhinos, and they know what a special sighting it is, because there aren't many of them. So no one goes off-road chasing after rhino. Everybody sticks to the roads and gives them space. Now, I wonder if they would be, or if they eventually will feel comfortable enough to come towards us. I mean, it's pretty amazing on a day like today, like I said, where the wind is gusting. And we're probably about 100 meters away from them. Yeah, I would say about 100 meters. So we're quite a distance out. And we're very lucky, of course. Things look deceiving because of our fantastic zooms on the cameras. I'm being photographed again. Smile, David. Should I pull a face? Now, here's a cool. I've got a couple of stories to tell you about this, and it's to do with Jacqueline's question, which is what sounds do rhinos make? So they make a variety of different sounds, from grunts and snorts to squeals, and it's an embarrassing story. But you know what? I feel like you all know so much about me already. You probably wouldn't expect it. So I was a very young guide. You know how excited I get about the most ridiculous things. We've just been sitting, beautiful sighting, male and female rhino with a young calf, all interacting. I suspect that the female may have been coming into estrus again, and the male was quite frisky, and he wasn't interested in the calf, but he was interested in her. So anyways, this little one was now obviously moaning that it wasn't getting enough attention. Maybe it wanted to suckle. I don't really know what it wanted. So it started making these very high-pitched squealing noises. Tried to describe it like a dolphin, but it doesn't really sound like a dolphin either, and I'm not going to try and do it. No, David. David's begging, please. Nope. I'm done with embarrassing myself. So anyways, so basically watching us explaining that what this calf was doing, that's how this little one was communicating with mom, and it was really nice. Anyway, we moved on. We started watching some elephants that came down to the dam to drink. And the next minute, sort of sitting there and doing this, because I can hear this buzzing noise. And I swear, I just said to him, I actually leant down and I got mosquito repellent out, and I said, I can hear the mosquitoes. I think, you don't want to get bitten. And my guest looks at me as if I was a complete idiot and went, it's the rhino making the noise. I genuinely had a moment of relapse and completely forgot that we were even with rhinos, and had thought that that high-pitched squealing noise was now coming from behind me. And I don't know why, just to me it sounded exactly like mosquitoes. So there I was. Very embarrassing. I was also only 19 though, but I feel like that actually doesn't mean anything, because I'd probably do something like that today. Oh wow, well there we go. If you were not convinced that these rhinos were relaxed, that should put your mind at ease now. The fact that he has decided to lay down and have a little siesta in the company of all these cars, oh, and her, that is fantastic. That is honestly amazing. So she must be coming into estrus, and that's obviously why he's hanging around. So it'll be exciting to see what happens. And what I'll try and do, though, for the next couple of drives is just popping past here and see if we can't maybe find them and just spend a little bit of time with them every single game drive. Today we're lucky we don't know of any lion sightings, so we need to go and look for them. So that's why we've had an opportunity to spend a bit more time with these rhinos. And they really are fantastic animals. Lovely. Wow, okay. Seeing as though this lot is going to have a little sleep now, I think that we might move on and go and search for all sorts of wonderful things. We'll give them a bit of a break. However, Brent is out and about, and he had his heart set on finding the big cats, and I'm sure he'll be hot on their heels.
Well, I've got a plan, and it is a plan of some note. We're going to look for leopard this afternoon, change it up a little bit. My name is Brent Smith, and I have Craig, aka the Batman, not Batman, the Batman, on camera. And we're heading now down towards the Mara River, quite close to the Chitwa crossing. And have a quick look at the crossing. Not many zebra and stuff around here, so I don't think the crossing is going to be too active. But there is a lovely little road that runs through the forest up here, and we're going to work our way along the edge of the forest, and hopefully we can find a magnificent Mara leopard. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions for us. It is it looks like an absolutely beautiful afternoon, and it is visually stunning, but there is a howling gale, which could make finding certain animals a little bit tricky, and a lot of animals really don't like strong winds, but we will do our best to show you the magnificence that the Mara has to offer. Keep nearly losing my hat. Okay, now in this part of the Mara, this top section, There are a few different leopards that work through these little thickets and riverine areas, and I'm hoping that we might get lucky enough to find one. I haven't been to this area in probably 2 months. That's how long it is since I came down to this area. I've been opposite this area on the other side of the river. Who knows, maybe we'll get a long distance visual of the 6 marauding Bilashaka boys. They do come into this area, but on the other side of the river, and who knows, maybe they might cross and start putting some pressure on the male lions on this side of the river. Okay, so we are at the Chitwa crossing, and not much around here at the moment, but as I said, the main reason coming here is to actually work through the riverine forest. There's also a lovely set of rapids, and with the Mara River being very high, there's been quite a lot of rain upstream. That rapid might be quite spectacular. Let's go around the muddy part. Now, there are some big crocs sometimes here, and it's been quite a cold day with the wind howling away, so maybe we'll find some of the behemoths sun tanning. No, the behemoths, I think most of the sandbanks that the big crocs like to lie on have actually disappeared. You can actually hear the roar of the Mara River. And we're going to go have a look at that rapid shortly. Now, while we're looking for leopards through this forested area, it is also an excellent spot to do a little bit of birding, and there's some fantastic birds in the riverine forest. Paula is wondering what colour shuka do I have today. I've got the red one from this morning, and then I've got a blue and red one for my legs in case it gets a bit chilly later on this evening. I'm always packing about 3, especially when we're on the long nights. I use 2 as blankets, 1 as a pillow, and then a blanket on top of that. Okay, so we have a look here. This is sort of ideal leopard country. It doesn't matter where you are. We've got lovely bigger trees interspersed with little thickets. And of course the impala and Thompson's gazelles often come graze quite close to the edge here, so an ideal ambush spot. Liz is wondering, are there roads into the forest areas at certain times of the year to allow traverse? No, Liz, this is one of the only areas, and there's one other area on the other side. You have to realize that the forest areas are protected, and very heavily protected, as they are very, very rare. There used to be a lot more of them 30, 40 years ago, so there is no access into the forested areas. There are a few campsites within the forested areas. Oh, hello! See what I mean? You never know what pops up next to you. Suddenly out of the long grass. Hello, hyena. I don't know who got more of a shock, me or him. Rudely awakened. Sorry. Sorry, Howard. Off you go. Oh, and having a good snooze in the long grass till we came along. Of course, this area you've always got a chance at. There's a pride of lions. There's 3 of them in the pride, 3 females. Oh, there's more hyena just sleeping out there. Yes, there's quite a few hyena out here. So you can see 2 more, or 1 more at least, hyena in the distance there, just having a snooze. There's another one popping out of the long grass. It's a sub-adult. Sorry to have woken you, chaps. Didn't see you there. That's what happens when you lie in long grass. Okay, well, let's keep moving. Well, the hyenas move out to find somewhere else to have a snooze before they begin their nocturnal ramblings. Odie Farthing is wondering which coalition is Scar in. Odie, he is in the Musketeer coalition. Now, not the cheetahs, of course, the Lion Musketeer coalition. Oof, wind is howling through this gap. I'll hold my hat down. Okay, we're about to get to this view of the big rapid. I wanted to have a look how it looked with lots of water in it. That's new. Oh, I know what it is. It is someone is going to be having a drinks evening here. Oh dear. That's why I wanted to look at the river.
About that, I also have my sunglasses on because, well, I would like to keep my eyesight for a little bit longer than by the time I'm 35 and have to have my cataracts removed, so we wear them in between. It's very glary out here today, which is making it a little bit difficult to spot things, and also I'm very sorry that the gremlins attacked Brent. It's very rude of them. How dare they? Brent will show them, though. I don't think he's the kind of person that tolerates that kind of nonsense. Isn't that lovely, though? So it doesn't look like rain clouds, eh, David? Wind clouds, though. I don't know where this wind has come from. I was just saying this morning, I was like, I moved away from the Eastern Cape for that exact reason, and well, here I find myself. Blonde hair, you know, blasting in the wind. It's terrible. I suppose the view and the animals make up for it, and the company's not too bad either, so, you know, win-win. So nice having digs at David or anyone who's behind the camera, because they just sit in their glare going, you know, you can say things back, eh? Oh goodness. And poor Tristan as well is having some car trouble, but that's okay, he'll be back at it. You know, he's part of the tech team now, Tristan. He's got really good at doing all sorts of those things. He'll be fine. So our plan is really just to drive and hopefully see a cat somewhere, or see cars. We will also be responding to car sightings today if we see them all bundled up. That's actually how you start off when learning the areas. Well, that's what I did. We just drive and go, right, there's 37,000 cars over there, that's where we want to go. And we normally do bets on, well, I don't know, I do it. Does any of the other presenters do it? Just me. I don't know why. Every time we see cars, I go, okay, right, what do you think we're going to see? So when we got to the rhino sighting, I bet lion, David bet cheetah, both wrong. It was rhinos. Even better, I think, well, in my opinion. Oh, there's an elephant. Before I hit the brakes, me check that there's no cars behind me, because I've done that before, made someone crash into me. That was, yeah, would have been an awkward thing to explain. Oh, and I'm parked with all the long grass. Now, hopefully the elephant won't be too hidden away. But there we go. Some lovely Bell 90s trees for you as the elephant moves and feeds in the grass. Although I haven't actually noticed the elephants on this side, closest to the escarpment, eating grass. They've been eating these little, sort of, little shrubs and things that are popping up after all of this rain. And then the ones that are closer to the river, where the grass is actually favored and it's browsed down quite short by the zebra and the buffalo and the wildebeest. So the Ellies have been eating that. It's grown to a length now that they're able to pull it out of the ground, because really short grass is quite difficult for elephants to eat. So it just depends, I suppose, where they are, what they're feeding on. But I can't see. What are you pulling from the ground? Maybe it is eating grass. Well, it's a young boy. There's a couple of them all scattered around the area, which is, of course, not uncommon. Oh, my goodness. Loud, soft. Sorry, David. So we turn the volume up while we're driving so we can actually hear what's going on, and then we have to turn it down when we stop. We haven't quite got this whole thing sorted. There's another bull. Also beautiful at the base of the escarpment. So if anybody sees any cats while they're staring at the screen, please let us know. Can you see anything, David? No, I don't see any shades of white. Normally they stand out. It's like a yellowish white color that you will see. Normally trees and tufts of grass that are growing quite close together, and termite mounds also look like lions. Elephants, not so much though. They're fairly easy to spot out here. Much easier out here than it is in the Sabi sand, but that's of course because this is predominantly grassland, especially in this middle area. But I haven't really seen zebra, haven't seen wildebeest, topi. They're all hiding away from this wind. Now, I love YouTube. Wouldn't it be ironic if you were asking that question via Twitter? That would be funny. You were wondering if there are any animals that exclusively hang around on the escarpment. Well, there's lots of animals that use the escarpment. The elephants go up there, the buffalo go up there, the giraffe go up there, the zebra come up to camp every single night and spend their evening in camp and then go back down and graze again. You might find that you'll have troops of baboons specifically living on the cliff faces, probably a couple of leopards that might be a bit shy and don't want to come out into open. That's also fine for them to live up there. Bird species that will nest up on those cliffs, maybe spend their time around there. Whether there's a specific species that if the Olololo escarpment were to vanish, whether there'd be one species that would go extinct because that's the only type of vegetation you can live in, I'm actually not sure. I haven't been in the area long enough, and sadly I haven't done any walking and exploring just yet. But that's something I'd like to do when I have some time off, is maybe go try and organize some walks somewhere. I don't know where, but we'll find somewhere. And horseback safari, we need to do one of those. That would be very exciting. It would be my first horseback safari in the wilderness, in the real wilderness. See, they aren't eating grass. They're eating these little shrubs. Now, I need to try and figure out what these little shrubs are that they're feeding on, because as I was saying, I've been watching it since I've been here, really, when they feed up against the escarpment. They're not going for the grass. Also very tattered ears. The animals have a lot of character here. I don't know if you've noticed that. They seem to be a lot more scarred up, I suppose, or tattered ears. Life's tough from them out here. There's so many more of the same species of animals, so the competition is definitely a lot more aggressive than what it is in the Sabi sand. But that is so gorgeous. Now, LK, is it not MLK? Is wondering, sorry, look at my hunch. This is my, let me just quickly let you know, this is my watching the monitor and presenting position. I was caught red-handed, so I thought I'd better explain myself. Hold my heavy head up and then stare at the monitor. Because, yes, that's what we have to do. How's Maurice doing? Maurice, come out of your cupboard. Shame. Terrible. Maurice is living in here with Snoop Dogg. There. They basically become best friends now. Snoop Dogg and Maurice the elephant. It's ridiculous now. We better stop though. We're gonna get into trouble. I have to behave now. Sometimes I have to act like a professional. Not always. Most of the time. So Maurice is doing fine. Maurice is just taking a break at the moment here, Jumped. Oh, hang on. Everyone hold on, there's an ostrich. I have not put an ostrich on screen yet, and I've been chasing them for I don't know how long, so let's get this sorted. So, basically, Yes, Maurice is just taking a break. The fame got to his head, so I had to put him in timeout, you know, just bring his ego back down to size again. Sometimes he gets a bit ahead of himself. Oh wow, this is going to be exciting. It's a beautiful male ostrich. Wait though, I don't know, he's quite excited, probably from a variety of different things, and the fact that he's got his breeding feathers on. Oh, he's actually might run towards us. No car, stop!
Well, welcome back. Unfortunately, it seems that there's some gremlins living in the forest down by the river, so we've just moved out a little bit. And it seems like poor Taylor's also found some. So we're heading now away from Chitwa. We're going to keep in this area. We're going to head towards the Samaki swamp. And what we're going to do there is, again, keep along the edge of the Mara River and keep checking in all these beautiful big ebony trees and Wahlbergia trees, and see if we can find a spotted tree climbing cat. We've been having so much luck with the spotted ground cat, so we might as well have a go at a spotted tree cat. Hi Paula. Paul is wondering, do we have any animals that regularly come into our camp? Indeed we do. Zebra is probably the most frequent, bush baby, Janet, leopard a couple of times, and probably more disturbing, the hippo that comes up from the dam that supplies our water, hippo, and occasionally elephant, mongoose as well. So a few different species that regularly come into camp. And eland sometimes, but less so. We've had wildebeest once or twice. We haven't had any of these guys in camp yet. Oh, a bushbuck. I saw a bushbuck when I was going to fetch the car yesterday morning at about 5:30. Hello, big Tufasa. Oh, he's a nervous Tufasa. Now, that'll be due to the wind. Everything's a bit jumpy in the strong winds. Hello, Tufasa Waterbuck. Impala in the background. So there are very, very pretty antelope, very elegant antelope. How are you doing? Very, very elegant antelope, and the females are particularly pretty. Now the males here don't seem to have as impressive horns as the southern waterbuck, which is the one you see at Djuma. And of course, the big difference between them, they look very similar, apart from the fact that these guys do not have the circle on their bottom. They've just got a white bottom instead. Okay, I wonder what else is out here. And you can see the wildebeest have done a spectacular job mowing this lawn, and the hippos are keeping it even shorter. So, of course, we're right next to the Mara River. This area is what some of the hippos' favorite grazing, and we do see a lot of hippos out at night. I think the most I've seen in a group was around the Musiara Marsh. I think we counted, while we were sitting with sleeping lions, we counted over 60 hippos around us. There's some pigs, and behind the pigs is Little Governor's Camp. There we go, and there we go. You can see there's quite a few pigs. You can see some tents in the distance. So Little Governor's is on. It's another little marsh, so it actually loops around a marsh. Hello, pig. Now, if you look towards the camp, I saw some baboons running around on the edge of camp, right in the trees on the opposite side, Craig. I think they've disappeared. But Papadano was wondering about baboons and do we have the same problems. We don't, Papadano, not yet. Our camp is new and we're very, very particular about how we store our rubbish. Now, what happens in the Sabi Sands is a lot of that baboon behavior has been learnt and taught over many generations. Now, Little Governors was kind enough to put Jamie, Senzo and myself up when we broke down near the Musiara Marsh for the night. It was very welcome because we were met wet, it had been raining, and Paka was having a problem with its fuel filter, so I smelt of diesel. I think I bled that system about 8 times that day, so eventually at about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening I was done. And we got to ride on a boat across the Mara River from the other side to Little Governors for the night, and then go back on the boat the next morning to go get Paka, try get Paka up and running again. Now I'm hoping as we head towards later in the afternoon, the wind will stop. And if the wind stops, it is going to be a truly spectacular late afternoon here in the Mara. Now, I do love a bit of Hemingway, and Hemingway spent quite a bit of time in Kenya. In particular, he spent actually quite a bit of time in the Mara and in the northern Serengeti. And he actually penned The Green Hills of Africa while recovering from an aeroplane accident. And he was recovering on the coast of Kenya near Diani Beach. And one of his more famous quotes about Africa came out during that time. And that was that there's never a day I wake up in Africa and I'm not happy. So there we go, a little bit of Ernest Hemingway. Before we send you all the way back to South Africa and to Djuma, where Tristan has managed to scythe through his aerial gremlins and is ready to welcome you to a very dry Sabi Sands.
Good afternoon, and yes, welcome to our sunset safari from the Sabi Sands, a very dry Sabi Sands, as Brent Leo Smith says, still no rain as yet. And as he alluded to, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I do have a Senzo. And remember that you can get hold of us on #SafariLive on Twitter or on the YouTube chat, because we are interactive. Now, we have had some aerial issues. Wendy decided all of a sudden that she didn't want to work today, and her little aerial tail that almost looks like a little warthog's tail decided to break in half and just fall over. So the welding broke and rusted through, and so we had to rush back home and change onto Rusty. And Rusty unfortunately had a few flat tires, so I had to quickly sort those out, but now we're up and running and everything's good. It seems as though things have been quite busy. We were out for quite a while. We had already gone and done our time lapses on Quarantine and Treehouse, and we were down at Twin Dams where there was kudu's alarm calling and squirrels going crazy. So I think there's a leopard down that way, so I want to head back into that area and try and see what's going on. Hosanna apparently this morning was lost going into devilishly thick bush and going into that drainage line off Buffelshoek Dam, so I'm not too confident of him or finding him this afternoon. So I think what we're going to do is head rather towards Twin Dams, try and see maybe little Tumbers around, and he's the one that is causing a bit of a stir that side of the world, and so we'll head there. If failing all of that, I'm then going to come back to the northern side and we're going to check Buffelshoek boundary for three reasons actually. One, we'll go past Buffelshoek Dam for Hosanna if we have no luck with Tumba. 2, we'll go to see if maybe the Nkuhuma Pride has come back towards the boundary. And 3, maybe our buffalo herd is at Sydney's Dam for an afternoon drink. Combined with the Nkuhuma Pride, and given that Gowrie repeater is working, we should be able to get some signal from that area, and hopefully we'll be able to bring that all to you. So that's the plan for the afternoon. Lots of exciting things in the air and lots of exciting times hopefully, and we should theoretically have some luck somewhere around. And this morning we had so everybody is shouting and requesting Senzo socks. I'm afraid everyone's going to be disappointed because he does not have any socks at all. He's busy looking the opposite direction, ignoring me because So Senzo is saying it's partly cloudy, which means no brightly coloured socks. Senzo, I don't know. I think you're pushing it today. It's quite sunny considering it's not too bad. So hopefully we will see Senzo with some socks tomorrow. But today it's sockless. It's invisible sock day today apparently. And so we've got no socks at all. Well, what we do have is some rather colourful headed Guinea fowl. So I haven't seen these guys for a while, but they're sitting in the nice open clearing and just foraging around. I've seen them this morning actually in a similar area, and you can see they're digging around looking for any seeds that they can find. It's a tough time of the year if you're a guinea fowl, hard to find food, and so they dig a lot. They root through elephant dung and various other dungs of the herbivorous animals and try and find some signs of food in there. So tough times for the guinea fowls, and it will change fairly shortly. Once we get the rains, these guys will be very happy and thriving, although they don't look as though they're very skinny, do they? They all look quite plump actually. But they are a beautiful bird. Maybe beautiful is a strong word. Their feathers are beautiful, and their head is quite eccentric, but not pretty. It's almost very prehistoric in that they've got these kind of helmets on top and these wattles, so they almost look a bit dinosaur-like with that helmet structure. And so I suppose beauty is not quite the right word for them. The feathers themselves are pretty. What is beautiful is a parrot, and there's a parrot calling right next to me. So Senzo, I don't know if you can see it, just on the left here. Rita, you say the helmeted guinea fowls are a new bird for you. That's interesting. Those are quite common here. I would have thought we would have got them, or if Byron would have got them on his bird challenge. Well, but I'm glad that we have added a new bird to your list. It's always exciting when you get new birds. There's a brown-headed parrot, and that's a very, very good view of a brown-headed parrot. In fact, I haven't seen a brown-headed parrot this nicely in quite some time. And you can see it's busy feeding off the russet bush willow. So the russet bush willow has got some pods and is busy kind of being fed upon. So it's breaking off those winged areas, opening the nut, and then getting the seed out of it. So using that really powerful parrot-like beak with that sharp point that's able to dig in and break open that pod and get to those seeds inside that taste very good. Now that russet bush willow is an interesting bush because or tree should I say, it's not really a bush, they do get quite big, in that you can use those pods, us as humans can use them for tea. So if we put them in water and we boil it up, it then makes a nice tea that you can drink. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. I don't find it that nice, but a lot of people find it okay, and it's used quite a lot locally for that. It's amazing how well these parrots are able to feed off the seed. If I went and grabbed that seed and I showed you just how difficult it is to actually get to the nut inside, you'd be surprised. But this little brown-headed parrot is making it look easy, easy, easy. Like I said, it's probably the best view I've had of a brown-headed parrot in a long time. Paula, you're asking if these parrots are able to learn how to speak with humans around. Yes, this parrot here is the shyest of the group. Unfortunately, we don't have our talkative parrot here. He sits somewhere else and is often saying hello when you drive past and gives us directions to the nearest animal. No, I'm just joking, Paula. They don't learn us. Remember, they start out as an egg. They spend all their time as a parrot, and the interactions with people is few and far between, to say the least. In fact, this is the closest I've been to a parrot in about a year, so they're not very commonly seen so close, and they really don't take after people in any way. They're not raised by people, and therefore they don't mimic people in any way whatsoever. They try and kind of just speak parrot, which is that squeaking sound that you hear now. And so no, they don't speak any human languages, although I think if you had one as a chick you might. Timmy, you say brown-headed parrot is new for you as well. I think some of you have been birding with us for quite some time and have also battled to get brown-headed parrots on the screen. We often hear them and we try get them on the screen, but they're such fast flyers and they can be a little bit difficult to find. So this is really one of the best sightings I've had since I've been at Safari Live in terms of being on camera. So we really are being spoiled by this one because he's low to the ground, he's not too obscured. You can see the nice green on the front and then that brown head. So we really are quite spoilt with this particular sighting. It's also quite relaxed. Generally the brown-headed parrots as we come along fly away, but this individual is so busy feasting off his russet bush willow pods that is not really concerned with us at all. So really is quite a cool sighting, and I'm glad that we've added another bird to your list. Seems as though we're doing quite well this afternoon. 2 birds and 2 new additions to 2 different lists, which is great. Robert, you're asking if people use this species of parrot as pets. Robert, no. So they won't. And the pure reason for that is that it's not really legal to be taking birds out of the wild, particularly in these national park areas. You'll be in a lot of trouble if you had to capture a brown-headed parrot and then domesticate it. I suppose there are in the illegal pet trade where there sometimes are parrots like this in captivity, and I would imagine this parrot would be like no other parrot in that, well, it would be like any other parrot, should I say, in that it would be able to be tamed and be able to be put into a cage and raised by people. But out here you're not allowed to take these birds out of the park like any other animal. They're all protected. We're in a protected area, and that's considered poaching to remove them or to raise them in any way. Now, coming up and over us in front is also two of our favorite birds, and it is the Wahlberg's eagle, and they're in a display flight. Look at this. They're busy going after one another, and I wonder if maybe the dark form one is here with the pale form, or are these two pale forms? But they went down at one another and kind of chased each other, so I'm trying to get my binoculars just to see who's who, but definitely the Wahlberg eagle pair. The one came towards the nest and the other one then chased it. So that's the dark form that we've got there, and the pale form was the one that was also around, which has now disappeared. So I wonder if there's a bit of interaction going on now, and they've worked out, this dark form one has now worked out, hang on a second, somebody's intruding in my nest and is coming to start war. So let's go forward, because he's heading straight towards the nest itself, and I think the pale formed one landed in that area. There I see him dive bombing straight towards that section. Let's quickly try and get there. Obviously it's difficult to keep up with birds of prey. They fly quite quickly, and it's, you know, especially when there's a bit of a wind blowing, it's really quite hard to keep up with them. But they've gone past the nest now. It seems as though they've kind of dive bombed further away. But it was definitely the dark form and a pale form one that was here. Now whether or not there it goes, it's just taken off again and is flying. Yes, there they're following each other. Look, here they come on the left. Dark form on top and pale form on the bottom. And it seems as though they're following one another around and just skirting the tops of the treetops. I wonder if they are just chasing one another, or if this is more just the pair together. It's very uncommon that the pair would go after one another. Hit each other in mid-air just now, and sometimes eagles will do that. They turn on their backs and they put their talons up, and the other one comes down and they kind of lock talons, and then they tumble a little bit. So they did that just before we got the camera on, and then now they seem to have split a little bit. But that was exciting. That was good to see, and I wonder if, like I say, the dark form is not thoroughly unimpressed with the fact that there's another. There's the light form has just, or pale form has just landed at the nest now. And I don't know if this is a different individual, or because last I saw of the pale form was going off in that area, but here is definitely another pale form Wahlbergs at this nest. This nest is turning out to be a saga of note. It seems as though there's definitely some sort of competition raging over this particular tree and this particular nest site, and that there's a lot of things going on. So there she is, or he. Oh, they're beautiful when they're this lighter color. You can hear some of the francolins are alarm calling because of all these birds flying around, but isn't that beautiful? I wonder what's going on though. It's very interesting behavior from them, and to see, because we know that there was two pale forms here, then this dark form again today is back in this area, which we haven't seen for the last 2 days. So I have no idea what's happening. I think it's possibly a territorial thing between two different pairs at the moment, and they're having a go at one another, and they're busy dive bombing and chasing, and I think they're trying to work out who's going to end up nesting in this particular section. And it's going to be interesting to see if the dark form and pale form Wahlberg's pair gets pushed out, if they go somewhere else and head towards the Treehouse Dam, the Twin Dams nest further south of us along the banks of the Mulawati. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Very cool though, either way. They are beautiful. See how feathered their legs are? So that's part of the true eagles, when they have those feathered legs, unlike things like brown snake eagles, which have the bare legs. So they're not considered to be part of the true eagles, which is what these guys are. And they're a fine example. And remember, these are migratory, so for some of you might not have seen them before. That's because they've only just started arriving back in the last week or so. And they are feverishly prepping nests to start laying eggs as soon as possible, so as they can... Oh, itchy beak. So as that they can breed and get their young ones strong enough to start moving northwards again at the end of summer. Robert, yes, they could hunt guinea fowl for sure. It is possible, but generally the Wahlbergs goes after slightly smaller birds. So red-billed quellias is one of its biggest targets, and then small birds like that. So you'll find that they go after sparrows sometimes. They'll go after canaries, buntings. So the smaller passerines is what they go after, and then also termites. You'll find when we get termite hatches and the winged allets are out of the nest, out of the termite mounds, these guys are generally there in full force picking them up and feeding off those allets as they come out. So that's what they target. Guinea fowl is probably a little on the large side for a Wahlberg's eagle. The guinea fowl are normally left for things like the martial eagles, which is a much, much bigger, much heavier bird than what you see with the Wahlbergs. Wonderful though, really, really good. Right, I'm going to leave our Wahlberg's eagle to itself and leave it to work out its differences with all the others that are busy flying around. I can't see any sign of the other two, so while we do that, we're going to head towards Mulawati, but I believe Brent Leo Smith still bumbling about in the Mara, and hopefully he's going to have some luck.
Well, in our search for the elusive prince of predators, the leopard, we have found the king of the birds. A lovely little family group of ground hornbill, adult male, adult female, and 2 generations of chicks. And we can see the youngest one hasn't quite developed the bright red coloration yet. Looks like, oh, there's lots to eat. I don't know what they're eating. I can't really see just yet, but they are finding plenty to scoff. It looks like there's quite a lot of grasshoppers hopping up in front of them. I think whatever they're eating is a bit smaller. They are fantastic birds, and I call them the king of the birds for good reason. And it's an older vendor story, actually. I haven't told a folklore story in such a long time. Now, it goes that there was a war between the birds and the snakes. And of course that comes from the fact that birds very much don't like snakes, and snakes very much like eating baby birds. So there was a war between the birds and the snakes. And it was very evenly matched for many years. And the ground hornbill did not get involved in the fight. And the king of the snakes, the black mamba, was on a killing spree and killed lots and lots of birds. And the birds begged the ground hornbills to please the birds come get involved in the fight. And the ground hornbills didn't, and it carried on. And then the bats joined the snakes. Let me just pull us back a little bit. How's that, Craigie? And then the bats joined into the fight, and they joined on the snake's side, and the birds were losing horribly. And they went again to beseech the ground hornbills for help. And eventually the ground hornbills agreed, and the black mamba raced at the front of the snakes, leading the charge towards the ground hornbill. And the ground hornbill stood its ground, and as the black mamba arrived, it snapped it in two and chopped its head off. And the birds then decreed the ground hornbills to be the king of the birds. An old vendor folk tale. Now, it obviously comes from the fact that ground hornbills are prolific snake eaters. They eat a lot of snakes and rodents, lizards, and the other thing is that the birds maybe forgive them for being their king, because they also eat baby ground nesting birds and other ground nesting birds' eggs. They are predators after all. There we go. So we're right against the Mara River. You can see the escarpment in the distance. We got a lovely herd of zebra here as well. Quite a lot of zebra down here. We are in search of leopard, so we're right up against the forest. But it's lovely to have the open grassland off to the west of us. And you see we've got a pig or two as well. Oh, zebra fight underneath the big tree. Zebras can be very aggressive with each other, biting, kicking. Look at that, trying to get the upper hand with those incredibly sharp teeth. See how they try duck and dive to avoid the teeth. Oh, gotcha. On the neck. Oh, that's going to be sore. And those, when they rear like that, it's to try disengage when they've been bitten. And the one on the left at the moment is definitely getting the upper hand. You can see the other zebras have no interest in those two. Probably two young stallions. And these zebra fights can get very, 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 very serious. And often people see wounds on zebra and assume they're from lions. But often it is from zebras fighting with each other. Look at that. Both going to ground, trying to not expose any soft bits. Zebras will bite the understomach and other places of each other to try and inflict some serious damage. Oh, look at that. It's quite the battle going on there. See, back to ground again to protect the soft stomach. I think, there we go. You can see the loser is deciding discretion is the better part of valor. I'm out of here. He's got a bit of a limp already. Oh, is he going to take a chance attack from behind? Oh, sneaky. Oh, there we go. And so it continues. I've seen zebra fights go on for 3-4 hours at a time. When I'm going to actually try to get a little bit closer, they are getting quite far, so hold on. And that gives me a chance to answer Bethany's question. Are there southern or northern ground hornbills? They are southern ground hornbills. The northern ground hornbills only occur further north in Kenya up towards Samburu. Sorry, pigs. We're going to get a bit closer to that zebra battle. Now, we don't want to get too close as to disturb them and stop them fighting, but although it looks like they already have, unless there's another sneak attack coming. No, it's all gone quiet. It's those two there that are standing with that smaller one in between. Those are the two that were battling. Are we calling it a draw, boys? I just want to wait a little bit to see if there is an attempted sneak attack again. Now, there could be a female coming to estrus that's started that nonsense. They look a bit young, actually, so I think it might just be practice fighting. Ernest says they were fighting for the upper hoof. Yes, indeed. Well, it looks like it's all over now. So it's just to show you what's on the other side of us. We've got some lovely zebra here, but the reason we're checking this area for leopard, and as you look at this, you'll understand why I'm here. So we're right on the edge of the riverine forest, and I'm hoping to spot a spotted cat lounging in one of these beautiful big ebony trees. Oh, we can hear some mayor's parrots in there somewhere. And who knows, we might be lucky with a Tarako or two in this area. Oh, is the fight starting up again? Let's get a little bit closer. Nah, it's all over now. I think they called it a draw. Well, let's go to Tayla, who's also enjoying that bustling wind we're experiencing in the Mara at the moment.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Thanks, Brent. Can you believe it that the ostrich are evading me so much? I can't believe that I was going to give you the most fantastic sighting and then the gremlins jumped on board. Very rude of them. And also disappearing into the long grass, not having any of it, is a pair of warthogs. You might be able to just see there, just to the right, their heads just above the long grass. There we go. Cool. You got big tusks. And off they go, running away. They don't want to hang around here. Oh, there they go. Look at, don't you think it's funny the way that they run with their noses almost pointed to the sky? They're desperately trying to see over that long grass too. Now the only part that really sticks out is the tail, and then other than that, they completely disappear. And you see there, it's trying to lift its head up. That was funny. It's obviously quite dangerous for them to run through this long grass because they don't know what's on the other side. So there could be lions laying flat doing what they do best, or a leopard, or even a cheetah just sitting there waiting for them, and they'll run straight into the lions. Well, that's what the lions would be hoping for anyways. So, ostrich. That is just ridiculous. But David and I were discussing it, and I was telling him about the whole saga, how I kept trying to find these ostrich in Djuma, and I couldn't. So I said that I shouldn't be too desperate, because the ostrich out here in the Mara, they can sense this, and then it repels them. So it's fine. We won't get upset about it. We'll just move on until another ostrich sighting appears right next to the cart. That's the goal. But we did have quite a cool question earlier from Romit, and that was, what is the difference between the Mara experience and the Kruger, meaning the Djuma, the Sabi sand experience, in terms of the animals that you see and their behavior? Well, Romit, the most important thing there is that animals behave differently in different areas. So out here, everything is wide and open. Yes, the grass is tall, so small animals like warthogs that can't see above it will panic slightly. So we see a lot of animals using termite mounds and fallen trees as various vantage points. But you also see how relaxed the birds are. The vultures sitting down onto the ground, you know, resting rather than roosting up in trees. In the Sabi sand, it's very dense, very thick, so you don't often get to see that behavior. Normally, when you see vultures on the ground in the Sabi sand, you would suspect that there was maybe a kill on the ground, or so you'd go racing in to have a little look. And it's different here, completely different. So, the animals that you see here, I think, are more special. And the reason why I say this is because I've seen all the animals that I haven't seen in a very long time. For instance, seeing that striped polecat, which I'd never seen before. That was amazing. I've only ever read about them. Didn't think that we were going to come across that. Seeing so many white-tailed mongoose, seeing porcupines at most nights in the difference, you know, in the distance, not the difference. Digging for roots. And then last night I saw an aardwolf, which was really cool. And we had quite a nice sighting of it. It was a fairly quick sighting, which they typically are, but it did turn around and give us one last post. So I'll see if I can find that video at some point, and then I'll try and play it for you. It's not going to be as good though, but it'll be nice to have a look. I'm sure some of you have never seen an aardwolf before. And then bat-eared foxes everywhere. So that's really quite nice to see. Whereas in the Sabi sand, because the vegetation is so dense, it's really difficult to see these animals. And they're around because we see their evidence. We see their tracks, we see their dung, we see the anal pastings, we see all these different signs that they leave behind. But to catch a glimpse of one is a lot more tricky. So I suppose it's you know, it's much of a muchness. Anyway, the reason why we've come down here is to actually look for the Egyptian goose pride. This is one of their favorite spots. But as you can see, nobody appears to be home right now. It's drying out. This actually doesn't hold water very well, considering the amount of rain that we have had. That's slightly disappointing. I'm just sort of doing a slow roll because my foot is as flat as it can go on the brake, but we're still moving. Okay, right, let's carry on then. But they like it around here. If I were a lion though, I'd be keeping out of the wind. So, I'd probably be lying flat in the grass. Actually, let's just check, because just speaking of shelter, there's obviously a ridge on this dam, or around this pan here. See if maybe they're not curled up around the corner. You never know. Might as well check. Imagine the whole pride of lions laying here. That's loud. Let's have a quick poke our nose around the corner very quickly. No, it does not look like anyone's here. Okay. Well, we're going to keep searching for the Egyptian goose pride, and hopefully them or an ostrich will sort of jump out and say hello. Tristan has decided to take the road less travelled.
I have indeed, and the reason why is because there was a brief visual of Tumba walking up here, and I've got his tracks on this pathway, and so I'm trying to follow them because there's no sign of him in the Mulawati, but it looks like he's heading in this general direction, which is a pathway that is often used by the leopards. I've seen Hosana use it, Shongile, Tingana, Tundi, they all use it. It's just on the bank of the Mulawati, and it's got a nice little kind of two-track that runs through it from all the sightings we've had and where we drive. So he seems to be moving slowly along this. Now I want to try and see, hopefully he's not moving too fast, because otherwise it's going to be a bit tough. The visual of him was just after we got back to the camp, so it was a few minutes from when we first said hello to all of you. So hopefully he is here somewhere. I just want to check this pathway again, if he came this way or if he carried on going northwards. It seems as though he's gone northwards, but it must be him. It's quite a big footprint, and they said it was a young male, so unfortunately the guys that saw him couldn't follow in this direction, so it's now up to us to try and find him. And those kudus and squirrels that were going crazy were a good indication that there was something actually lurking around in this general vicinity, so it was worth coming and checking, and his tracks obviously are here, so now it's just about finding him. I'm sure he's just lying somewhere in this, or he's being typical Tumba and is investigating everything that is around. Now if there's no sign of him here, then he might have already gone towards Twin Dams for water, which we'll go and check just now. So I'm going to try and see, maybe I can get in here. Where are you, Tumba? Seems like he likes to move around. Kimmy, you say don't break my earpiece off-roading. Well, I'll try not to. I hope that I don't break my earpiece off-roading. I just have to watch it. I've actually tucked it in before we came into this area. I know it's quite thick, so I had quickly tucked it in just to make sure of it and to make 100% certain that we don't have an issue. Tumba, where have you gone? I don't see your tracks anywhere here now. There's some impalas there, so they look quite relaxed. I wonder if he hasn't gone towards Twin Dams and has just gone for a drink of water instead of being on this bank. Maybe he crossed back over the Mulawati and is headed for water instead, because with all these impalas that are super relaxed here, I don't think there's much chance that he is actually in this general vicinity. Unless he's stalking them, of course, which we know then is going to be quite tough to find him, given how flat they go. We saw yesterday with Hosana how he was down and how he was seriously low in the grass, and it will be tough. It was hard to see him on the dam wall in the complete open. Now you're talking about an area where there's some grass. It's very difficult, and it's going to be hard to find a leopard in a situation like that. So let's check here. No tracks here. I think he's gone towards Twin Dams. That's what my bet is. I think he's gone for water. If not, finding him is going to be a tricky business. But we know he's here. It's just a matter of just being patient and looking around and checking and making 100% sure we check every available option to us before we head out of the area. Here's a nice... So Megan is wondering if Hosana counts as far as my cat streak this morning. Well, I would say yes. I mean, at the end of the day, we saw him. It's the fact that we didn't have signal is not really kind of our fault. We still found the leopard and we're still with the leopard, so I suppose we did see it. But if you want to be technical, we can say no, and we can try and find another leopard, and hopefully that will then satisfy Megan. We've got to keep Megan happy. We don't want Megan to get upset with us, so if that's the case, then we'll find another. You think? So Megan says Hosanna counts and I'll find Tumba anyway. So thanks, Megs. That's good vote of confidence. I think so too. Although Rusty doesn't feel great, I must be honest. That's why I'm a bit sort of tentative in the way that I'm driving. Rusty's feeling as though his steering rod is not well at all, and I think his steering rod is bent completely, so which it is now. You can see it's not turning well at all, so we're not going to be able to drive Rusty much further at this stage. We're going to have to try and get ourselves into a position where we can change. Is that him across the way, or is that a hyena across the way? Hyena. So if there's a hyena around, then maybe our leopard is also around. But there's definitely a hyena across. But like I say, our steering rod is bent completely, so the tires are facing a very odd angle, and it's going to be very difficult for me to even get anywhere remotely safe out of this bush. And I don't know how I'm actually going to do it, but we're going to try. So let's see. Not going to work. Riti, you say we must try and put my leopard tracking pirate patch on. No, we can't go anywhere. Megan, you're going to have to link away to somebody else because the steering rod is completely bent, which means that we're not going to be able to go any more than where we are now. The tire just keeps kicking out because of the uneven terrain. It keeps separating, and actually this is the same place that Byron had a bent steering rod, and Rusty felt odd from the moment we got into him. It felt as though there wasn't quite something right, and so what happens is the steering rod bends and then the wheels turn out, and then the car just pulls in opposite directions, so both wheels push outward and you just can't turn. You can't go anywhere other than in a straight line, and even a straight line it will try and pull you into different directions. But we can look at our hyena while we're sitting here and while we try and get hold of Opa to come and help us, because that will be at least a while. And our hyena is watching me kind of from the other side of Twin Dams, and I'm 100% sure that this hyena is coming to investigate what's going on. Maybe it's heard us off-roading and has now decided who is here. I see it sniffing. Maybe little Tumba has a carcass somewhere around this area. But while we try and sort ourselves out, get out of this mess, let's go back to Brent in the Mara and see what luck he's had.
Alas, no leopards yet, but we do have a hippo enjoying a little puddle. Now, this hippo is probably in the puddle because there's too much competition in the river at the moment. So it is a male who's been pushed out of the river, so he's probably been sleeping in the shade of the forest, and now he's come out for a little wallow in the mud. Hey, big man, you look like you're enjoying that a lot. But we're going to keep on because I got some good news. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but somewhere close by there is something feline. Let us see if we can find it. Now, somewhere around here, I see quite a lot of hyenas. Oh dear! Now, it seems like Tristan has bent his steering rod. I know all about that, Djuma. Now, let's see if Tristan's able to fix it in the field. That's the trick. There are a lot of hyenas out here, but that's not what we're looking for. There's a whole bunch of hyenas over here. Now, I'm looking for a bunch of vultures. And something feline. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get flack for this, but tell Tristan that a tumbuti tree is a good place to straighten the steering arm. There we go. There's some hyenas out there. Let's see if they're eating anything. No, they're just saying hello to each other. Hi, hi. There's just some greeting going on. Okay, let's keep moving. I need to try and find out where these kitties are. So I say it's quite nice to be down here. I haven't been down here for a month or so, maybe even a bit longer. I'm trying to see, I think I see vultures over there in the distance. I'm still waiting. I am going to find a leopard in this area one of these days. Could it be today? Oof, hyenas everywhere. James would like to know if I've seen any leopard behavior that I would think is very specific to this area. I haven't, James, actually. They've pretty much behaved like leopards. I haven't seen any specific behavior. I've heard about some behavior, about a big male that hangs around the crossings and actually will fight with crocodiles for carcasses, but I haven't seen that. And I think that was last year. No one has really seen him around the crossings this year. Okay. No vultures that way, so it must be this way. See, I'm being quite clever. I'm sticking against the edge of the trees, which has given us a lovely break from that howling gale that we had a bit earlier. The trees seem to be soaking up most of the wind. But as I said, as we get later into the day, the wind should die down, and it's going to be a spectacular evening. Okay. Now, must be a little bit further. The Angama guide said somewhere around this corner was the kitty cat. Now, which kitty cat could it be? So one thing about coming to this side of the northern triangle is you're committed, because there's a massive marsh between us and the other side. So you're either that side or this side. There's no sneaking across in a hurry. It looks like we committed to the right side today. I see vultures up ahead. Okay, let's hang on, let's see. So the vultures are up ahead. So what is here? We almost need a drum roll in. What have we got? What have we got? Craig, should we show them what they're? I don't know. Maybe we should just look at the view. Let's not have a look what's under the vultures. I don't know, Craig. What do you think, Craig? Let's have a look at the marsh. Let's have a look at the marsh. Oh, look how pretty the marsh is. There's some woolly-necked storks in there, and some Egyptian geese. Oh, we're getting close. I've got the vultures up in the tree. Oof, the sun is very bright. So, what could it be? And can we even find it is the question. Get up onto the corner here. There's more vultures just around the corner. Oh, there we go. Now, I'm just going to warn that this could be a little bit upsetting. I don't know if we can find it, but from what we heard, a single lioness grabbed a baby eland, but mom is still hanging around. And possibly trying to defend the carcass. It looks like the lioness might have moved away, but the eland looks like it might be trying to defend the carcass from the vultures and the ground hornbills by the looks of things. Okay. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I mean, the vultures are here. I don't see the lion at the moment, and there it looks to be the mother eland. Where are my binoculars? The ground hornbills are just passing through. And there's no sign of vultures feeding, so the lioness might still be on the carcass somewhere. We just might have missed her. Reggie's wondering, would ground hornbills feed on carcasses? They might peck at a carcass. Probably more interested in the maggots and things that would be in a carcass than the carcass itself. But yes, they would. They would scavenge on carrion. I'm just going to go back towards that little old extinct corner of the Mara River we went past and have a closer look around there. So we got vultures from there to there. And lots of mud around here, so we're not going to venture off the road at all. Whoa! Oh, hold on. You guys okay? As I said, lots of mud and big holes around here. There we go. So I'm too busy trying to find the lion and not watching where I'm driving. If I was a lion, I'd drag it down towards some shade. Okay, guys, while we try to find out where this, nearly next hole, lioness is, that's why I need to concentrate. Let's go across to Tayla, who's driving around.
I'm now looking with binoculars. I'm not actually driving. Oh, an aeroplane. It's not actually what I was looking at. I was looking at something in the grass. But it turned out to be a termite mound, because there are many of them around here. Now, this is still the area that the Egyptian goose pride like to hang around in. So we're just carefully scanning. I haven't been at their two favorite watering holes. So I said to David that I'll point it out to you quickly. Down over there, there's a nice lush green spot with some shrubs and rocks. Those are zebra. Those are not shrubs and rocks. There we go, into the right-hand corner. Sorry. That's where also the lions could be. That's one of their favorite spots up there. Maybe with all the wind, they'd be lying about, trying to keep out of the wind. But there's food around, as Darby showed you the zebra. There's also a buffalo. I'm trying to head towards the herds of buffalo because they seem to be quite large, but they're a little bit around, a bit to the north. But we'll get there eventually. But it's lovely, but very quiet so far. This is probably one of the quietest days I've had out in the Mara, but it's okay. Goodness. Our car's a bit sick. So every now and then it lets out a jet of black smoke. What? I was convinced that termite mound was moving for a minute. Wasn't. What are we going to do, Casey? We're not going to go down this way because that's where there's no signal. And there's a few topies. We can't break some. So alone. Problems that you have.
Oh, hello. You've caught me eating my afternoon snack and still trying to find this lioness. Sorry about that. The eland keeps looking in to that area, but I think the lion has dragged the carcass down to where we can't get to it, unfortunately. Shame, poor Mama Eland. You can see we've just moved a little bit away from the trees, and now the wind is catching us. Okay, well, I don't think we're going to be able to see the line. She's pulled it right down in there. One last little squiz. No, I think she's down. Whoa, there's that. There's the hole we hit earlier while I was looking for the lion. Nasty. Lots of that stuff around here. Okay, moving on. Now, many months ago, when we were still in that wet season, Dave and I came along here. And we nearly got stuck a few times. It was quite some tricky driving to get through. But luckily, since then, the Mara Conservancy has made the road a little better. So last time, Dave and I actually crossed up there in that muddy section there. I had to go quite quickly. But fortunately, now this is where the swamp, the Samaki swamp, drains and eventually flows down into the Mara River. The Mara Conservancy have kindly built us rock bridges since then. So there we go, you can see slightly bumpy and uncomfortable. But I'd rather have bumpy than uncomfortable than stuck in the mud. Oh, we got some lovely sacred ibis up ahead. All feeding on the peripheries of the swamp. Oh, and here a fish eagle in the forest behind us. Yeah, busy birds. The light is just gorgeous this evening. Almost able to forgive the wind with this gorgeous light. I think sunset's going to be something quite special tonight. Alas, no luck on the lion or the leopard this afternoon. But we are live, so that luck could change in a split second as we continue up and around along the edge of the Mara River. Okay, here's the next rock bridge. Now, Robert is wondering, how are the smaller animals affected by the migration? Snakes, honey badgers, etc. Some of them actually the migration affects quite heavily. something like a honey badger is quite happy with the migration because of all the dung and dung beetles. And one of our honey badger's favorite foods is, of course, dung beetle larvae. So they're quite happy by it. I mean, we actually saw a porcupine the one night that had been trodden on and trampled by a stampeding herd of wildebeest that were being chased by lions. So there are instances like that where some of the smaller animals are affected negatively, but I think the migration's been going on for so long that most of those animals are quite used to it and know how to avoid being stamped upon by millions of hooves. Because if you think about it, there's about 1.6 million wildebeest, but there's 4 hooves on each of those. So a lot more hooves than wildebeest. There's some more unlucky hippos having to eke out an existence in the luggers to avoid the big dominant bulls along the river where all the ladies are. There we go. They just look like boulders, but of course those boulders have teeth and can chop you in half. Lazy hippos.